Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 7 of Get Out of the Rat Race Rut. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Perhaps a very early morning for some of you on this Saturday, September 7th. I'm Beth Campbell. I'm a career coach and mentor. I'm a former corporate queen and captive, now helping people find their work wonderland. If you need someone to guide you one-on-one through a career or life challenge, send me a message or go to bethannecampbell.com/coachme. Thank you so much for being here, especially if you're joining live in the States and it is early wee morning, but anybody, thank you. If you're watching live, let me know you're here in the comments. If you are watching the replay, give me a hashtag replay. And of course, make sure to let me know if you have any questions or feedback. I will address it either at the end of this episode or in a future episode. So today, I'm not sure I should be going this deep on a Saturday, but we're going a little deep today, a little corporate-y deep. We're going to talk about what does it mean when you get a bad performance review or you get put on a performance improvement plan, which we commonly known here as a PIP. What does it mean? Before I dive into this deep topic, I should let you know that I absolutely hate annual performance reviews. I think they're shit. I've been a part of them for 23 years as an employee and as a manager. I think they're a nightmare. I don't find them of any value. And in a lot of cases, at least 2 places that I worked, they had no bearing on merit increases. So people think that they're a part of, they determine somebody's raise. Not always the case. Not always the case. Sometimes they're done well after those raises are determined, right? And it's just used for other purposes, maybe, or maybe not. And they're always a mess. The goals that you do at the beginning of the year are always done horribly. We've talked about goals. I mean, they're just, a lot of them rate people. I think rating people is offensive. I could go on. I did a whole podcast about my feelings about performance reviews. But the fact remains, they are a standard part of the working world, at least the professional working world. So we're going to talk about them. So when we're talking about a bad performance review or going on a PIP, there are really kind of 2 scenarios here, in my opinion. There's either you should be getting a not great review because maybe you are challenged or struggling, or you're blindsided, like undeservedly, like you think you're kicking ass, you think you're doing great, and then boom, you're suddenly on a performance improvement plan. So I'm going to focus more on the latter because it seems more common for people to be surprised by negative feedback. I've actually know quite a few people that this has happened to, and myself included. But I do want to address the legitimate situation where somebody might be truly be performing badly. First of all, there are often great reasons for this, right? Very justifiable reasons for this. Life changes, like you go through a divorce, or you have a death in the family, or you're taking care of somebody who's sick. All of these kinds of things can contribute to performance challenges. Second, if you're like legitimately dropping in performance, like you're not meeting deadlines, your productivity is off, etc., your manager should have already had a conversation with you, probably many. There should have been many conversations and attempts at improvement before a yearly review or a PIP. You would know that this is coming and you would expect it. This would not be blindside. So all that being said, there's one thing that I do think is important for all of you to hear. If you do legitimately get a bad review, like you are truly struggling, it's not the end of the world. This is a reflection of what has happened in the past. It is not necessarily the whole truth, and it certainly doesn't have to shape your future. So again, there are a lot of good reasons why your performance is lagging. You are in control of your destiny. I've said this before. You can be a better person, a better employee. You can overcome life changes. You can be fulfilled. You can be happy in spite of having, a past that wasn't ideal. My Uncle Mike, now this is not a corporate story, but it's a life story. My Uncle Mike just released his book, The Broken Spoke. It's an amazing book. Very proud of it. Look it up if you're looking for an inspirational recovery story. But my Uncle Mike had about the worst childhood and adulthood that I could imagine. His parents, my grandparents, were horrible abusers of every type of abuse. And Mike eventually fell into a cycle of adrenaline and alcohol addiction just to kind of drown out the memories and the emotions and the trauma. Eventually, he faced his demons and got healed and got sober, and he's happy and fulfilled. And now he is a published author and he's changing lives with his story. So, if he can triumph over his shitty, horrific childhood, you can weather a mediocre or a bad review and you can find success and you can find fulfillment in your career. You just need to work through whatever it is that's causing the struggles to begin with. And I'll wrap up this portion with this. If you are struggling with a life change and your boss or your management team, your company, your culture, whatever, they're not trying to help you through it, then consider if you want to be working at that company. Now, if you're just lazy and you don't care, then what can I say? I'm not so naive as some career coaches and some HR social media influencers that suggest that there aren't people out there who are just shitty employees. There are. I've worked with them. But anyway, we're not going to focus on that. If you're a shitty employee, you know it, and you just, you have to look within. So the situation we're going to talk about today is when people are seemingly doing a good job at work. They've had, pretty decent performance reviews, excuse me. I haven't had my coffee yet, so I might be a little burpy too. So this is people that have been doing a good job. They've had a pretty decent performance review on their annual review for the most part. They've not had any issues at work, and then all of a sudden they find themselves with a bad review or being put on a performance improvement plan. I see this a lot, and I've heard of this a lot when a company gets bought out. So there's, a shuffle and changes, and they start weeding people out. So there's a new management with different expectations. You change roles, right? Different expectations. Maybe there's some budget cuts. Maybe your salary's high, right? So they're evaluating. Or maybe that they just are saying you don't perform to your salary level. There's an underlying ism, sexism, racism, ageism, homophobia, whatever. And sometimes when you outperform your boss, you get, there's a little, ego that get kicks in there. So, okay. So I don't want to scare anybody with what I'm about to say, but if you have been working up to par or beyond and you suddenly find yourself with a mediocre or a bad review or put on a performance improvement plan, be concerned. I follow some labor lawyers and a lot of former HR type people on social media, and I've heard this over and over and over again. If you get put on a PIP or get an unexpected bad performance review, they're probably trying to weed you out. And my experience with myself and others supports this. They could be trying to build a case towards your termination, maybe even termination for cause so that they don't have to pay unemployment, which is what happens here in the United States. And I'm not saying that every single time that a good worker gets a bad review, this is the case, but I'm saying it's a high percentage. I've had this experience myself. I've heard of it and experienced it with other people. It happens enough that if it happens to you, you should just be concerned, right? So if you get blindsided with a bad annual review or get put on a performance improvement plan, it's likely that you're getting weeded out in some way, shape, or form. My best advice to you, if this happens, because I'm just a transparent, tell it like it is person, start preparing for it. Start preparing. So you could take a couple of different paths if this happens to you. You're blindsided by this bad review or PIP. If you're like a really kick-ass mindset maven, manifestation magician, you could double down on your positive visualization and do some mindset work and try to turn the situation around. You could manifest a situation like your current situation maybe is reversed and you become valuable to management team again. Maybe the company finds some money or your boss got replaced or you get put on a better team. Or you can accept that you're likely being pushed out and prepare for it intentionally, but still keeping optimism. So for the first one, manifesting your way into a better review and just hoping it will get better, I would ask myself, is it worth fighting for? I think you can achieve anything if you're determined enough, if you're focused enough, and you use the right mindset tools, but be strategic about what you want. I mean, go back to look at and listen to day one, goal setting, right? What do you want? So be very strategic. Do you want to fight for a position with the same manager or the same culture or executive team if they're the problem? Probably not. So if you go the way of it's going to happen, you're going to turn this around, you're going to achieve anything, you're going to prove it, something's going to change, just make sure that you use your visualization and your energy strategically and manifest what you want all around, right? If you're not a master manifester, which a lot of you probably aren't, or you're under so much stress you can't even fathom that, or you can't stomach the thought of working for somebody who doesn't want you around, then it's time to prepare with intent. That doesn't mean you're giving up. And by the way, preparing is also throwing intent out to the universe. You're taking inspired action towards something better. So just kind of look at it that way. It's not the negative. You're just throwing the positive in a different way. So the preparation that you undergo when you think you might be let go, or that you're being weeded out, look for a job. Pretty obvious, right? Start a log of work events just in case, because you never know. If you're wrongfully terminated, then you might have a case. And that's another thing, is you might want to contact a lawyer if you feel like you are being unfairly treated. Do what you can to keep your stress down and to keep a positive outlook. I'm not talking about, toxic like Stuart Smalley, everything's great. I'm just saying, keep calm, do whatever work you need to do to just keep, and always remember, you got this. You are a fucking badass. Sorry, I wasn't going to drop an F-bomb in this series, but I did. You are a freaking badass. And don't take out your frustration on social media yet. I mean, maybe there's a time and a place for that, but certainly don't go out on LinkedIn and start, railing. I did that, and not when I was job searching, but just in general. And I don't regret it, but just if you're looking for a job, that's not the time to do that, right? So keep it positive. You can certainly talk about things that you think should be the case in a work situation where there's a negative to them. But just don't go out there talking about all leaders are shitty and stuff, even though your experience might be absolutely that's the case, but just keep it on the down low on social media while you're looking for a job, or while you're, and certainly while you're under scrutiny at your current job. So tomorrow, we are going to go a lot more detail into the preparation for, I'm sorry, my hand keeps, I'm like Adele with my hand. Tomorrow we're going to go into a lot more detail. The whole episode is about preparing to leave your job, whether voluntary or involuntary. So these points and more, we will go into a lot more detail. So tune in then if you're in that position. So bad performance reviews and performance improvement plans are uncomfortable. They're stressful situations all around. Keep your head about you. Use the tools and techniques that you'll hear about in this series, or other things that you have at your ready. It'll help to take the edge off a lot, because this is a very stressful situation. And remember, you determine your value. It is an unfair and a dick move on a company or a boss when they do this, when they just kind of blindside you like this. But don't waste your energy fighting for your self-worth. Just let it go. You are not a number. You're a human being, and you deserve to be treated like one. Having a bad performance review, it might seem like the end of the world, but it actually might be a blessing in disguise. So last year, about 6 months before my position was eliminated, which was a year ago yesterday, I'm celebrating my 1 year and 1 day anniversary today. So but about 6 months before I was let go, I had my annual review with my new boss, who was formerly a peer. Every year for 22 years, multiple managers, multiple companies, I had above average reviews. I was so on a scale from 1 to 5, 3 is meets expectation. I was either pushing a 4 or above a 4, exceeds expectations. On my last one, I barely got a meets expectations. It was not a bad review, but I could line up like my last 6 years and I could see my scores, and there was definitely a noticeable drop with my new boss. My annual review lasted less than 5 minutes, which was very telling. That was probably the first indication that I had that something was up and that I was going to be on my way out. From then on, Everything that happened with my management team, it was like a blaring, rah, 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 like, we're going to let you go. You're going to be eventually you're on your way out. And I knew it. I knew it the whole time. I knew it like I know shit stinks. And then in September of last year, on the 6th, no surprise to me, my position was eliminated. And just like I mentioned above, there were a number of factors. I had a new manager who was weak and didn't know what he was doing. The company had just been bought out, so there was a lot of weeding out and cleansing and reorging. My salary was high. I was one of the highest paid people on our team. And I was, at least as a leader, outperforming my boss 100%. And while it sucks to lose income, it was the best decision that could ever have been made for my career. I am grateful every day that the universe intervened and pushed me out when I didn't have the courage to do it myself, because I wanted to do it for many years. That is a tale for another day. But anyway, so I've been there, right? Okay, so we had a lot to unpack here. So as I mentioned earlier, tomorrow I'm going to go into a lot more detail about how and why to prepare for leaving your job, whether it's voluntary or not. Again, sometimes it's just to cover your ass. And I do want to say, I do respect the gravity of being in a position where you might lose your job. I've been there, and I don't mean to be flippant, like you're on your way out, start preparing, get a job, like it's that easy, right? I understand it's not. But it is a possibility, a strong possibility that this is what's happening to you. And I want you to be ready just in case, while still holding out with that optimism, right? You can always have optimism. All right. I don't see any comments. Everybody's probably still sleeping. That's okay. Don't forget to connect with me here on Facebook or on LinkedIn. If you're watching this on YouTube, give me a subscribe and a like and hit that notification button if you would. That would be very helpful for me. If you need somebody to guide you one-on-one through a career or life challenge, like you think your job might be eliminated, send me a message or go to bethannecampbell.com/coachme. Thanks for joining Get Out of the Rat Race Rut. You are here because you are a badass. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. I'll see you tomorrow.